this morning will be the history of the Oxford movement. I thought this would be a good topic because it would hopefully shed some light on and give some history and context to Anglo-Catholicism. You may sometimes be asking yourself, well, where does genuflecting and the sign of the cross, where do these rituals and or why do these rituals come from? They have their genesis in the Oxford movement. And the Oxford movement These four clergymen were a group of Anglican academics who in the early 19th century felt that the church was becoming really a bit lax as a result of the Reformation. Lax in that it had forgotten or getting too far away from its Catholic heritage. At one point, the entire church was Catholic. I mean, it was big C. Not little c would be Catholic, meaning the universal church. But up until the Reformation, we were one united Christian church. And everybody was not thrilled and or excited about, number one, the Reformation, and certainly the effects upon the Christian church post the Reformation. And so, these John Newman and his friends fell into that group. So what was the objective of the Oxford movement? Many would have you believe it was a movement back to Catholicism, and it was not. It was not a ploy and or a device, if you will, to move the church back under the Catholic heritage. It was really just a call to holiness, individual and both corporate. And at that time, these gentlemen were given the name Tractarian. And Tractarian was just the name attached to the pamphlet in which they gave out the tracts for the times. And these tracts preached, and they preached the Catholic theology, little c Catholic theology, not Roman Catholic theology. Began around 1833 through 1841. It was a movement by high church members of the Church of England, which today we would attribute our Anglo-Catholic roots. Within the Anglican Church, and does everyone know that we are a part of the Anglican Communion? Does anybody not know that? We are a part of the worldwide Anglican Communion. We just so happen to be named here in the United States of America, the Episcopal Church. Okay? But again, it was really just a real deep desire to reinfuse the post-Reformation church with its Catholic heritage. And this was one of the movements by which they were seeking to distance themselves from was Erastianism, which was just the church's willingness to legitimate itself and claims and prerogatives of the church to the requirements of the state policy. Well, the church was moving away from being the Church of England, controlled by the crown, and they weren't advocating this, but this was also infused into this post-Reformation church in which these gentlemen felt needed reforming even further, but reforming somewhat or retaining some of their Catholic lineage. Please feel free to jump in with questions if anything is not clear or if you want further explanation. Okay? Many believe that Catholicism, even today, that Catholicism is attributed only to the Catholic Church, and that's not true. Baptist, Methodist, Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal, all of the denominations that we have today were birthed out of the big C, the Roman Catholic Church. But they are still included in little c, the Catholic Church. Catholic meaning the universal church. So when you hear in our prayers, we pray for the Holy Catholic Church. We're praying not only for the Roman Church, but for the entire church, the Lutherans, the storefront, right? We're praying for everybody. It's the little c Catholic. Is everybody clear on that? That we are a part of the Holy Little C Catholic Church. Jim.
Curious, can you go into more detail about your next last point? Wouldn't this assert the inherent Catholic heritage? Is that not an effort to return to the Catholic Church? I'm not sure.
Well,
it seems like the distinction's a little unclear.
These.
The heritage, they don't involve.
Well, they wanted, what this precipitated, what these gentlemen caught, was a moral laxity. Okay? With the Protestant Reformation came just well, we can just kind of do what we like to do. We're no longer under the auspices or the control of the doctrine of the Catholic Church. So what these gentlemen wanted to do, no, that was to clearly emphasize that's not true. We are still under the doctrine of God. So if we could get away from the doctrine of the Catholic Church, okay? But there were tenets and principles by which the Reformation and through many just said, well, we're no longer bound by these rules from God. And so what the Oxford movement wanted to do was say, no, we are still bound by God. Still expects us to behave as the people of God.
Reggie.
Yes.
This was probably 300 years after the Reformation. So what triggered this concern all of a sudden?
It was just people's inconsistency. The Reformation brought on, John Calvin said, once the church split, that the church would continue to split. So, and the example he gave was, if you can imagine a bonfire, and the thousands of flames that rise into the sky with a bonfire. We as the entire, as the people of God, know about one flame's worth about God. And then Calvin says, well, imagine that one tiny flicker of flame being split now into many, many different denominations. So it was really just an attempt to bring back some of the order, some of the hope to abide by not so much the stringent Catholic Church, but the ethos behind this feeling that we are motivated by a desire to love God, and we are governed by the Bible. So this can have my Baptist roots. In the Baptist and even in the Methodist churches, you have revival meetings. And this movement, really by these Anglican and these Oxford academics, was really a Catholic revival of the church, as it was moving and distancing itself over the past 3 centuries prior, away from the control of the church. Well, this was a revival back. This was a hearkening back. Okay? And so this is where, I mean, this journal was an advocate for signing of the cross, the genuflecting, bowing, incense. All of these are attributed to, essentially, they are not a desire to return to the Catholic Church or to even be Catholic-like, L-I-K-E. It was just a desire, there are just some things that the church people should be able to say to those who are unchurched, should be able to look to the church and see something different about us. And so these rituals and symbols were a call back to inner holiness, not an attempt to be Catholic. You know, these aren't Catholic rituals. These are the rituals of God that we, in the faith that we inherited from the great Saint Peter, this is our showing respect for, our showing deference towards. Okay? I wanted to be clear on that, because we're not trying to be Catholic. I mean, we're all Catholic. Is that clear? Questions, thoughts, arguments?
But when going back to the show of respect and stuff, but all of this came in after the apostles and stuff. I mean, Peter wasn't genuflecting. So it all became, it seems to me, a man-made ritual for respect, perhaps, and I guess setting apart. But it doesn't seem to me that it is historically, I'm not saying important, accurate,
Well, some of this has root in history in Judaic law. I mean, if you remember the gifts that the wise men brought to Jesus, frankincense and myrrh. What's the scent that we use in the thorough? Frankincense. So, and as they were, as the Jews before the sacrifice, you know, they would cense the altar with frankincense. So this has always been. It is just a. I mean, why wear this? Why do anything then if we are not trying to show and or live out? We're different as the people of God. We're just not, and we should be. And we should be. There's nothing wrong with that. People should be able to look upon us and say they're doing something strange on the inside. But I want to know something more about it. It's not that, and studies today of millennials say, well, no, we don't want the rock band. We don't want the jeans, and nothing against that. But we want the church to be the church. And this is part of the 2,000-year tradition that we inherited. Is that clear, Tim? But I appreciate yes, ma'am.
Is low church then a pushback against this?
Low church is an absolute pushback. Virginia, the entire state of Virginia can be, they relish in the fact that they are there is no, if you notice when at the words of institution, I will raise it and I will genuflect 2 times. They don't do any of that. And that's fine. I did an Anglican year at Virginia Theological Seminary. And it was, I mean, they kicked and screamed to do it on Easter and Christmas, just to, and so it is, you have low church, and I've served in, of the 7 different Episcopal churches that I've been a part of over the past 10 years, including seminary. I've served in one mostly broad church. Okay? So low church would be devoid of any. It would be devoid of any. The priest would just come and you just say the Eucharistic prayer. Okay? Broad church would be, you have a bit more. Maybe they will do incense and or dalmatics. The Eucharistic ministers may or may not wear dalmatics. You'll have a little bit, it'll be in the middle. And then in a truly high church, I served at Trinity Episcopal Church in Washington, D.C. Every Sunday, I mean, it was frankincense, censing the altar. It was genuflecting. It was, the songs, the entire liturgy. It was just a higher desire and or assent for God. So we've kind of spoken about the Tractarians. This was the name given to John Newell and his band of 4. And again, you can read that here, the Tractarians, or this Anglican group, they just wanted to have more respect for the church, the priests, the sacraments. What are the beauties? What drew me from the Baptist and even the Methodist church was, if you look at this architecture, once you come in here, into an Episcopal church, what you will always see in every Episcopal church, I will say, is that the altar is in can't hear you. The pulpit or the lectern. And possibly even in a Methodist church over at Trinity. You mean the lectern, it's a little bit more consistent with the original church. But every Episcopal church, okay? And what this represents is that word and sacrament we hold together. They are both important. And that for me was a huge draw. Because I don't know about you, even before, as a child, the one Sunday a month that we would get communion, there was just something, I felt different. And I said, well, why can't we do this every Sunday? There was something special about it. And to my first foray into the Episcopal, I said, you guys do this every Sunday? Yeah, we do it every Sunday. I said, well, that's for me. It's like a filling up the tank. That's my tank. I don't know about your tank, but my tank gets low during the week sometimes. Okay? And when I hear the words, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. We have so much clutter and so much stuff in our lives today. For 1 hour on Sunday, we get a chance to be reminded from dust from which we came, and to dust we shall return. This is a reminder, really, of the passing nature of this life. Y'all gonna have to. I get carried away, folks. I think y'all know that. Yeah. So this began. I think it began in the Church of England. Do we all know who the Church of England? I'm not trying to insult. I got educators. I got folk PhDs, physicians, everybody. I'm not trying to insult anybody's superior intelligence. But this began as a movement, as a reformed movement, a hearkening back, if you will, to the church's original roots. Forget Catholic for original roots. What the early church fathers did, what Basil and Saint Basil and Augustine and Irenaeus and Origen, what those guys did, and guys, mostly guys. The original church. This is what they did. They didn't call it Catholic, but this is what they did. Okay. So we've kind of covered that. It was an attempt to revive the church. Right? Initiated by this group of Anglican academics. And to give respect for every bishop in the Roman Catholic, the Anglican, and the Orthodox. Does everybody know what the Orthodox Church is? Again, I'm not trying to... Okay. All right. The Orthodox Church is the Eastern, so think of the divide being... say the British Isles west is the Western Church. The Eastern Church is heading back towards Jerusalem. Okay? That's the Orthodox Church. And the head of the Orthodox Church is the Patriarch. Patriarch is akin to the Pope. And similarly, Canterbury, the Archbishop of Canterbury. The ritual innovations which they were accused of were entirely rooted in a desperate need for pastoral needs they encountered. Okay? So what I have found, just in my own ministry over the past 10 years is that when people are nearing the end of life, okay, and I break out the lights, the candles, and I got the church, St. Philip's, thank you, brought me a mobile communion kit. When you go into the hospital and people see that, that's a strong icon of God. Some ask for it. Do you have? Dosher. Unfortunately, the Catholic priest has not been very kind in doing last rites to people. Well, I told him, the president of the hospital, if anybody wants last rites, I'll be, no matter what the time, I'll do them. Because why? Because that is, I view it as a passing of the baton from this life to the next life. I take very seriously being with you in all aspects of our communal life. But there's something about the end of life, and I've had the chance to be with several of our members at the end of life. And they don't mind ritual. They want the lights. They want the sacrament. Oh, it's fine. No, I want everything. So I said, well then, so yeah. Okay. Next. All right. We've covered that. How much time do I have?
About 15 to 20?
Okay.
I'd say 15
Okay.
closer.
Okay. Just...
You're really pushing them, aren't you?
If I give him 15 to 20.
Some of this, we've kind of covered it so far in the talk. You had within, on the outskirts of England, what the Oxford movement succeeded to do was to bring back morning prayer in many of the rural churches. Bring back morning prayer, bring back last rites towards, in the nursing homes and hospice centers of the day. This is just more information for your viewing. The Oxford, what these Anglican academics found were many were in solidarity with them, and many were afraid post the Reformation to say, you know what, I kind of wish we could go back to church before the Reformation because we're missing, we don't do these things anymore. Began with John Keeble's sermon in 1833. So this was the motivator for the Oxford guys, and that the Church of England at the time was looked upon ritual as a wicked papal return, and that wasn't what it was at all. That wasn't the idea behind the Oxford movement. It was really a desire to return to inner holiness, to give respect to the Catholicity of the entire church, to respect the priesthood, to bring sacraments, make sacraments are just not, it's not just wafers and wine. At this time, vestments, they were low church. They went from the post-Reformation, saw England become very low church. And these guys said, no, it's not just about the vestments, guys. It's not just about the rituals. It's deeper than that. What are your questions? Yes, sir.
Well, I have to sit next to her. my question is, since you've been here, obviously there's been things that have been done differently and appear different.
Okay.
And that's from a clergy and a running the church perspective. Are there similar expectations about things that we should be doing or doing differently than we have done? So, for instance, there's different people who will, cross themselves or genuflect.
It's all personal. I mean, I'm not trying to hit anybody over the head with the rituals. But what I am hoping is that we get a sense that this is serious, okay? That we are set apart. That what we do, everything we do in this liturgy matters. And it can be attributed to an acknowledgement and love of God. Yes, Paul?
Father, St. Philip's is part of the Anglican communion.
Pardon? Say it again?
St. Philip's is part of the Anglican communion.
Yes.
Why is it when we have a prayer to the people, we start with the Archbishop and not with the defender of the faith?
The defender of the faith being who?
Queen Elizabeth.
Well,
I know some Episcopal churches that do that.
you sound like a real Anglophile. But that's a good question. That's an excellent question.
Yeah, what was the question?
What was the
The
question?
question is if we are truly a part of the Anglican communion, why don't we pray for the Queen?
Defender of the faith.
Who is the defender of the faith? And I think that's a great question.
Because we want
Why? And we can, I don't want to start throwing stuff. I wouldn't be opposed to it, because you're absolutely correct. Although there is now a separation, church and state, but symbolically you're right.
Hey, Chris, do you think, we got to sit down amongst ourselves, do you think it has something to do with the American Revolution?
Well, that little war, yeah, the little, there was this.
Question.
I have a question.
Let me get the roof now. It has.
What was her question?
Ruth's question was: do you think that we don't? It's not in there because of the American Revolution.
Well, the Archbishop isn't in there either.
Yeah, and so if you, I say if I would say no, because then we'd take out everything as it pertains. Then the Archbishop of Canterbury shouldn't be in there either. I would err on the side of it being in there. And I've heard it. We pray for the Queen. Pray for the Queen. Yes, say.
What direction do you see the church going in terms of your high services and your low services? Because when I grew up, it was basically a high service with the incense, with the vestments on the altar, with everything being blessed, with the chimes. And over the years, I've seen this changing, going from most of the churches being high to a lower church. And what has caused that, or what do you see? Does that make sense?
It does. I get your question. I went to the ballet last night, and I grew up, I'm 51, I grew up in a time where if you went to the restaurant, you go to the orchestra, a a performance, the movie, men would dress up. I was the only person there last night in a tuxedo. And I was, that's fine. My wife said, don't wear your tuxedo. No, I'm wearing it. Okay, I'm wearing it. And it was largely because, and one guy, one of the guys who was running the Wilson Center, and if you've never been to the Wilson Center for performance, you've got to go. It is an extraordinary place. He said, now that's the way that you dress for the ballet. Winston and I were in our suit and our tie. And so it is, the church is very reflective of what's happening in society. We have been dressing everything down, flip-flops and shorts, which not much, that's okay. You know, but it's not, there's no reverence for anything. You're right. And the church is reflecting that as well. It is priest-dependent. You hang with me, it's going to be smoking up in here. No. There are some, I know that some are allergic and all of that. So, but if I had my druthers, we smoke it up, so you wouldn't even be able to see me right now. But I say, the Lord be with you. So that would be Grace Church Alexandria. It's much like that, right? It's smoky when it's smoky there.
And Father Reggie,
yes.
Also our cross is a crucifix. All of our crosses at Grace Church are crucifix.
Yeah.
On that question about the Queen, I think historically the Episcopal Church in America owes its allegiance to Scotland, because the English would not consecrate a bishop, so we went to Scotland, and Scotland consecrated a bishop, which allowed us to.
Yeah, but
so, I mean,
that's splitting. Yeah. The first bishop was not. Seabury was but we're the Church of England. This is the Church of England worldwide. Okay? We're calling it the Anglican Communion, but its roots are in the Church of England.
I've heard her comment about the church becoming lower over time. I've had exactly the opposite experience. I think the Episcopal Church is rather schizophrenic. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, and we had only morning prayer, except for once in a while. There was very little in the way of ornamentation, very little. It's a large church in the middle of North Carolina. Very little in the middle of in terms of ornamentation, colors, all of these things. But over time, that the churches in our area became more about church. And it strikes me, as our even for 9 years here, that we're moving a little more in the direction of a higher church.
Oh yeah, we are.
Rather than but it's certainly
it's going to take off. You hang with me. Just hang with me.
In the Church of England, their service, is it very high or all their services high?
Well, that's a good question. It is pretty much like they've almost ceased to go to church, quite frankly. I mean, you think average Sunday attendance is low here? I mean, you can, and I've got a former professor of mine, is the Bishop of Gloucester. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Gloucester. Well, Anglo-Vowels, is that right? Gloucester. Mother, South Carolina. All up in my enunciation. It is the church. The church started to dwindle first in England. I mean, it's really sad, the numbers that go to church in England. I mean, it's not happening. There's some, but by and large, the churches are almost empty on Sundays.
I think it's all over Europe.
Captain Lee.
Several years ago, I went to a church in Westminster Abbey, and all the church is tourist location. People are going around, but
They set up an altar and they had a service. And I couldn't tell the difference between it and the one we have here. And on the way out, I introduced myself. I was from St. Philip's Episcopal Church in Southport, North Carolina. And we stopped the line and we talked for about 10 minutes. Most people didn't like that. But anyway, it was, I guess the definition of it was more like what we do than what the English used to do.
Yeah, we have been, yes, we are the Church of England in America, and we're becoming, there are churches, Trinity Episcopal Church, Washington, D.C., St. Luke's, New York, Grace Church, Alexandria, and I'm sure that there are others. Those are just the ones that I'm familiar with. You get, when it's done right, guys, when it's done right, it really is beautiful. Yes.
So is it safe to say that the Oxford movement was part of a continuum to seek ways of delivering the liturgy in ways that are more meaningful to people? So you're seeking mechanisms that make the service and the liturgy more meaningful to individual people. And so I would think that that's probably a continual process. And so you probably see pendulum swings of these approaches. And so the trick would seem to be to find within a congregation some commonality of these approaches that make it most meaningful to the members of those congregations.
Very good. Very good. It's, I joke, but I want everybody to feel comfortable and edified. I mean, I'm just a high church guy, but if that's not your cup of tea, then I mean, it's about God. I mean, it's not all of these. Every industry, every vocation has tools of the trade. A physician, Dr. Jimbo Smith can't go into surgery, without a scalpel and nurses and anesthesia. I mean, these are the tools of the priest trade, and I like the tools of the trade, and these are the tools of the people of God. These are our tools, and we can choose from the trade what we like. That's the beauty of being a free people. Yes, tell me your name. I don't know you. Where are you from?
Charlotte.
Okay, you visiting with us?
Yes, I was here last week.
Okay, so okay.
I'm visiting my mom and my aunt who are new residents.
Okay, very good.
So we heard her this last weekend, and we decided to come back.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you can keep, that's a long drive. I know they move. You thinking about it? Okay. we've done an instructed mass. Does anybody have any questions about what we did? Or it being from, we got, that's another, we'll put that on the docket for another adult ed. Any more, thank you, Robin, for that. I mean, yes, that if hopefully you have this class served as a deeper understanding of the history, where it came from, why it originated. It's just once you understand, as Robin so eloquently said, once you understand the why, then it brings it back more here to our heart. And that's really all I'm trying.
Time to go.
Thank you all. Thank you.